All right, it's a really exciting day, or maybe one in the future that you fantasize about all the time. You got a new bike, okay? I'm gonna tell you 5 things today that are gonna make sure that you don't mess your new bike up and that you have the most enjoyable experience possible with it. Let's go. The first thing that we're gonna check on our new bike, and maybe it's a new to you bike, maybe it's not brand new, but here's the thing, you need to check it anyway. You need to check all the major bolts. The major bolts, and we have another video where we go over some of these bolts, but just to briefly talk about it, we need to check the bolts that hold the front end on, we need to check the bolts that hold the back wheel on and the front wheel on, and we need to check the bolts that hold the engine in the frame. Like, check these bolts. Make sure that you look up the torque specs, get you a nice torque wrench, torque those bolts. You don't want your wheel falling off, you don't want your engine rattling apart, so make sure you check those bolts. The second thing that we're gonna talk about is gonna be grease. A lot of times from the manufacturers, they don't grease these things very well. I remember when I was getting new bikes all the time and racing all the time, the first thing we would do would pull the linkage apart, pull the axles out, pull everything that has grease on at the front end, and put nice grease in there and put a good amount of it in, something that's gonna last you a while. So make sure that you grease the bike correctly. You don't want a new bike to be worn out in 30 hours because the manufacturer didn't put enough grease and then you didn't check it. Number 3 is gonna be your cockpit setup. And what I mean by that is where your handlebars are positioned, where your levers are positioned. I personally cut my bars a little bit. Every time I get a bike, I take like a 1/4 inch off each side because I feel like they come a little too wide. And then I line my handlebars up and with the forks. And then I line my controls to match good upper body position. So that's just below level to match this position, the position that I wanna ride in. So make sure you set your cockpit up to make you comfortable. You don't wanna just leave it the way the manufacturer, the way the shop sets the bike up, because a lot of times they don't care how it's set up for you, and or they don't know what kind of rider you are, what stature you are, how that's gonna make you feel on the bike. If you're curious to like what proper setup looks like, we do have a video. We'll leave that in the little thing up here. Make sure you check that out. The 4th thing we're gonna talk about is suspension setup, all right? When we're riding the dirt bike, one of the things that we feel the most is how the suspension's working. So the easiest thing that you can fix is setting your sag up. Look up the manufacturer's recommendations on sag setup, and then also something you're going to want to look into is the spring rate. If you're 140 pounds and you buy a 450, likely that bike is sprung too stiff for you. You may just want to change the springs out. So find your local suspension guy. Here in Austin, Texas, we have 812 Suspension who does all of our stuff. My bikes immediately go there. I actually have one there right now getting suspension done. So make sure you set your bike up, set the sag to the recommended settings, and that's gonna make you feel a lot more comfortable right away. The 5th thing we're gonna talk about is the filter. I've gotten many bikes in my day where there's very little air filter oil on your filter. If you're new to riding completely, make sure you do the research on the proper, clean the filter, oil the filter, clean the air box out, all that stuff that you need to keep that system flowing correctly. You don't want dirt in there. And a lot of times they send these bikes with not enough oil on the filter. So make sure you pull your seat off or pull your side panel off or whatever it is that gets to your filter. Look at that thing and make sure there's oil covering the whole entire thing. That way you're not sucking sand through and ruining your engine right away. Here's the thing, I'm here to save you and your dirt bike riding experience. So make sure you go through these things. We'll have more videos. We're just giving small tips on how to make everything go a little more smoothly, save you some money from the bike blowing up or an injury because the bike's improperly set up. And yeah, if you like this video, we've got plenty more videos you can check out on our channel. We'll see you guys next time.